Started. Welcome everybody, and thank you all so much for joining the August call, the August action call for Results International Australia. My name's Gina Oliveri, for anyone who doesn't know me, but most of you do, I think. And I'd like to start by acknowledging that wherever we call from around the country, we are calling from land that is, was, and always will be Aboriginal land, and pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. Today we're going to follow our usual format. We'll hear something a bit inspiring. We'll hear from our guest speaker. We will have a chance to ask our guest speaker questions. So please do be sure to be thinking as she's talking about what you might like to ask her. We'll hear some announcements. We will hear about the study tour that took place recently, and we will also do an activity together at the end to get ready for our action, which this month is going and seeing our parliamentarians, having meetings with them. And because we've got people who've just come back from the study tour, they'll be really well placed to help others to go do that because they're feeling nice and confident. Using Zoom, if you can, when you want to ask a question, you can hit the raise hand button and it shows me a little hand that shows me that you want to speak. You can also type in the chat box, or you can sort of wave your arms like this, because sometimes when I'm looking at you all on the screen, I can actually see that you want attention. If you're on the phone and otherwise cannot use those sorts of functions, feel free to just unmute yourself and jump in if required. It doesn't usually get too chaotic, and I can usually direct traffic pretty well. But first of all, oh, and also I will share in the chat box for those of you who are on Zoom. I'll just pop in the chat box right now the link to this month's action sheet and all the various other things to go with it. And that way you can have that in front of you while we're speaking, which is very handy. But now I'd like to throw it over to Alicia in Melbourne. Alicia, are you ready to, I'll just unmute you. Alicia, are you ready to share your letter that you had published? Oh, I can't unmute you. What's going on? Oh, Alicia, you're over there. Alicia, can you just speak a bit so we can test if we can hear you? Alicia, we can't hear you for some reason. I'm not sure why. Alicia, nope. Having a few issues with sound today. Sorry about that. I'm going to, what I'll do is I'll just move on a bit, and then Alicia, if you can just keep trying, and when I hear your voice, I'll throw back to you. And so we'll just go a little bit out of order for a moment. Great. Cool. So I just want to take a moment to introduce the people that we have on the call today. So as well as people like Alicia, whose letter you'll hear in just a moment, and 10 other volunteers who joined our study tour, meeting with 35 parliamentarians and their staff from 6 states and 6 different political parties. We also have people on the call like our CEO, Marie. Marie can give a wave. Marie, along with 6 other team members, including Paula from our Northern Beaches group, they raised over $6,400 for results recently in the city to surf, walking the 14 kilometres from the city to Bondi. So well done and thank you. And Alicia's letter that she's going to be reading out shortly was followed by another 2 in the same newspaper within days by results writers, by Peter and by Sue Packham, who's on the call, which brings our total for the year up to 67. Although I just heard that we had one in Melbourne in the Age, so maybe that's actually 68. So well done, everybody. We're doing really great on our letters to the editor. Alicia, I'm going to see if we can hear you. Can you just say something?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find my newspaper article. Carry on. Sorry. I'm really sorry.
Oh, you're funny. All right. Well, what I'll do then is I'll introduce our guest speaker, and while I'm giving Monique's bio, you can find your letter. And if you haven't found it by the time I'm finished, I'll read it for you. So I'm going to introduce our guest speaker, who is our excellent results media and communications manager, Monique McDonell. Hello, Monique. And let me just tell you a little bit about Monique. She has a wealth of experience from work in the non-profit, educational and commercial sectors, working both in-house and in consultancies. She's really passionate about using language to tell stories and the way that new media impacts modern day communication. Monique holds a Bachelor of Arts in Organisation Communications and Marketing, and she brings over 20 years' experience to the role. But as well as being an excellent communicator and running all of our media and communications so well, Monique's also organised many events over the years, big and small, but have a reputation for being really fun, well attended and successful, which is why she is our guest speaker today. So thank you, Monique. And I do remind you all that you can ask Monique questions after she's spoken to us for a bit. Alicia, have we got you ready to read your letter yet?
Might. Just 1 second. We've got really here.
Really
okay,
dodgy internet.
I've got it.
You've got it. Oh, cool.
All right.
Go ahead. So this is Alicia's letter that was in the Sunraysia Daily. Go ahead, Alicia.
Okay. I joined. Broad's Foreign Aid Support is Encouraging is the title. And it's written, I joined a delegation of 11 results volunteers from all over Australia this week to speak with our politicians in federal parliament about a famine crisis impacting Yemen and the East African countries Nigeria, Somalia and South Sudan. During moments of discomfort on the long drive to Canberra, I reminded myself that the people of East Africa and Yemen were so hungry they were now eating grass and watching their own children slowly die of starvation. The years of violence has left the people of East Africa and Yemen feeling too unsafe to maintain residence in the one location. Lack of safety has ensured people do not remain in the one area long enough to harvest crops, raise livestock, trade and maintain employment. Results volunteers informed our federal politicians that for a famine to be declared within a country, 2 people per 10,000 must die each day due to famine, and 20% of people must have limited access to food within the entire population. Over 20 million people are facing that situation in Yemen and East Africa right now. Most notably, during the visit, it was a pleasure to meet with Mallee MP Andrew Broad, who impressed me with his breadth of knowledge about the crisis in Africa and Australia's foreign aid program. When Mr. Broad said a local Mallee resident told him that charity begins at home because it's where we are taught to be generous and kind, so we should be proud of our foreign aid program, it filled me with hope that our other federal politicians could emulate his sentiments. After meeting Mr. Broad, I looked up the electorate of Mallee and thought, if the people of Mallee are as generous and forward-thinking about Australia's foreign aid agenda as he is, then I should make my next road trip to the Mallee to pay them a visit. And I just wanted to say, this week I actually heard from Andrew Broad, and he said that he noticed my letter and that he noticed, I think, Sue Packham and Peter Grave in the Sunraysia Daily. So he's noticed us, and he said that he spoke to Julie Bishop due to our advocacy. So I just wanted to let everyone know that. So every letter counts.
Yay! Well done, team. Yeah, and I hear that when you went and met with him in Canberra as well, that he was very grateful for all the letter writing and quite pleased to meet you because it sort of gives him some support and some, I don't want to say ammunition, but, you know, some some evidence that people care about the issues. So well done. Good job, Alicia. Okay, now I'm going to throw over to Alyssa, who's going to be asking some questions of our guest speaker, Monique, who I've already given the bio for. I'm going to hand it over to you two ladies so we can learn a bit more about events. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you, Gina. Can you let me know if you can hear me all right? As soon as we seem to be having good. All right, excellent. So before I start, I just wanted to remind everyone that once I've finished asking Monique questions, I'll open it up for everyone else to ask questions of Monique as well. And if you want to do that while I'm speaking, you can raise the hand button on Zoom, or you can put it in the chat section as well. And if you're on the phone, just feel free to speak once we actually open it up to everyone. So hi, Monique. Thank you for coming onto the call with us today. The first thing I wanted to ask you is that you've run a lot of events, and I wanted to ask if you could tell us a little about the best events and the worst events that you've run or attended, and also the top 5 tips that you have for running some excellent events.
Okay. Hi. I hope you can hear me. My internet doesn't seem to be great, but we'll just hang in there and see how we go. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for having me on the call. It's exciting to be here, and I hope that I can be useful for you. So I have run a lot of events. I just thought I'd tell you a little bit about the sorts of events I've run. So I have run commercial, like fundraising events, big dinners, and I've run walks and all those sorts of things. And I've also done a lot of community volunteering, and I've run fundraising events in my local community. I used to run all the fundraising at my daughter's school. So I've done trivia nights and I've run fairs and all those sorts of things as well. So I've done the big jobs and I've done the little jobs as well. So I understand what it's like to be in both situations. So I think that's probably where I hope I can be of use to you guys. So first of all, I just want to say that people don't really support causes when it comes to events. They support people. And I think when you're organising an event, you might really want to keep that in mind. And if you think about how or why you first came to join Results, it probably has as much to do with who you first met when you heard about the organisation, or people who reached out to you early on, or your experiences to start as the actual campaign that was happening, because there are often a lot of ways that you can act, but you want to be acting with people and helping people that you enjoy the company of and that you have things in common with. So just try and keep that in mind when you're organising an event. You are as important a part of what goes on as the actual cause. So just keep that in mind. Okay, best and worst events. The best event that I ever ran was a dinner for the Sport and Tourism Youth Foundation. It's also one of the best events I've ever been to, and it wasn't because I was running it. And it was John Brown, who was the former Minister for, you guessed it, Sport and Tourism, had set up an award system for young athletes. And it was around the time of the Sydney Olympics, and we did a fundraising dinner and an awards night where we gave money to athletes who were training for the Olympics. And it was held at the Four Seasons in Sydney, which used to be the Regent, for those of you who don't come to Sydney. Anyway, it has a very large function room that seats about 500 people, and that's capacity. But John kept inviting more people, and I kept saying, we have no more room, and he kept saying, make room. So we ended up with 600 people in a room that fits 500 people. So you literally could not move between the tables, and I was selling raffle tickets and doing all those things, and I was very skinny back then, you had to sort of between the seats. So it was actually a nightmare of an event to work, but it was a great event to attend because it had a lot of atmosphere, because people were in close quarters. They kind of talked to the people behind them, and everyone got to know each other really well. You literally, we basically people just couldn't give us their money fast enough, which was kind of crazy. And we raised over $100,000 that night. Now, I've been to other events in that room. I ran a different event in the same room 6 months later, and it wasn't as good. And the reason for that was that it clicked. People had fun. John was the MC, and he's a good MC. And back to what I said before, people came because they liked him. And remember, people give to people. And he made people feel lucky that they were there. So, I squeezed you in. So I think that's a really big factor when you're running an event, that people feel like they're where it's happening, in a space where other people would want to be. So I think the other thing about that to keep in mind is that sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money, but it was a very small charity. None of you will have ever heard of it. And it was a small committee that ran it. There were only like 5 people. So that's the best event. Worst events, I really try not to dwell on bad events. But what I will say is that the thing that all bad events have in common is that they feel like work. So even if you're going to an event as an attendee, it shouldn't feel like work. You should feel like you want to be there. And even if you're at a work event, if it's a well-run work event, you shouldn't feel like it's work. If you go to a good conference or something, even if it's you using your brain, it's still energizing and fun. And an event should deliver on its promise. So if you say we're having a fun night for the whole family, it needs to be fun and it needs to be family friendly. If you say it's a night to eat great food and make new friends, the food should be good and it should be friendly. If it's a chance to learn where Australia's aid dollars actually go, then you need to make sure that at the end of the night, people know where Australia's aid dollars actually go. So I think that's important to keep in mind. So some of my top 5 things that you need for an excellent event: you need the right space, and a small space that feels crammed is always better than too big of a space, because people kind of wander off and you can't keep them all together. You need the right people running it, and that is actually about attitude more than anything else. People need to feel connected to the cause, and you, the people running it, have to make them feel that way. And the best way to do that is to make them feel welcome and included. Fun/atmosphere is the next thing. Obviously that depends a bit on the event, but you need people to feel like they're part of something, and that they're in the right place where for a cause where they can actually help make a difference. And you need them to feel like they're not in the wrong place. And a good analogy for that is if you've ever gone past an empty restaurant, and I actually do this because I'm a bit of a strange person, and sometimes I go into an empty cafe and I sit in the window, and if I go with my husband, we have to sit in the window, and you'd be amazed how quickly a restaurant fills up when it looks like it's worth going to. And events are a little bit like that as well. You need to kind of fill up the window to make people want to come in. You need to make it look easy. And by that, I mean no complaining, no telling people how hard it was to pull the event together, no telling them about the problems. All they want to do when they get there is all they want is for you to deliver on whatever the promise it was you made, and put a smile on your face and make it easy for people to do what you want them to do. So whether you want them to sign a petition, whether you want them to buy a raffle ticket, whether you want them to join a group, you need to make that easy for people, and you need to make the whole event feel easy and look easy. And finally, you need to be authentic. So having just said all that about making people feel included, they will know if you're being disingenuous. So I think that it's really important to do that as well. Okay, that's my top 5.
Nice, thank you for that. That was really useful. And in terms of running events as part of an advocacy movement, why do we run events as part of our campaign? Can you give us any insights into how they would help?
Yes, I can. So as an advocacy movement, events are a great way to let people know about you as an organisation in a more public way. So an example of that, which I'll give you, would be when we organised this in March, the parliamentary breakfast on World TB Day. So it lets people who are already engaged in the cause share their passion. It's a way to inform and recruit new people to that cause. And it's also a way to let the wider community see the work you're doing. So not just people in the sector, but also members of the general public who might not be aware of what you do. So one of the things about the work that we do at Results is that it can be very behind the scenes, and that's true for volunteers, and it's true for the staff as well. So sometimes the value of an event is we don't just need to be doing the work, we actually need to be seen doing the work, and events provide the opportunity to be seen. As part of this campaign that we're working on about the famine, we want them to learn about the campaign, and we want them to learn about Results. So an event is a way to reach more people, and not just reach them, but to inform them. So it's an opportunity to tell a lot of people about what you're working on and why you're passionate about it. And I think we can safely say that every single group that we have would be open to having new members and growing. And an event is a great way to take people who are passionate about the cause, that's why they would be with you, or they're interested in what you're interested in, and then lead them to action, whether that action is, again, joining a group, going to a conference, writing a letter. So that's the value of having an event, is that you can reach a broader group of people and hopefully bring them along the journey with you.
Yeah, that's great. I have to say that I was surprised a lot of the parliamentarians we met on the study tour, the ones I met at least, were really calling for public support. It was something that they wanted us to be able to demonstrate to them. So yeah. And we have a short amount of time for our last question that I want to ask you, which is that our group leaders, and I guess you kind of answered it very briefly, but our group leaders often ask how they can build their group through events and attract new people. And so what advice would you have for that?
Okay, I'm going to be really quick, but I'm actually going to be very practical about this one. So if you've gone to the trouble of having an event and you've gotten people there, it is very important that you or a member of your group speaks to every person at the event and welcomes them. And I'll just give you a brief example of this. I used to run welcome drinks at our local school, and every single year that I ran those drinks, every single person that turned up to those drinks ended up on the fundraising committee or the P&C, because I said, I would like to see you at our next meeting. I'm going to be there. I'll be looking for you. We'll have a cup of coffee after. So I made them feel like we were going to be best friends, and in many cases we are friends, but that I wanted to see them and that they mattered. So I think that's the first thing you need to do. You need to get the name and contact for everyone who attended. And as an example of that, I'm going to get you all to write the names of all the people that are in the room with you on a piece of paper and their email, even if you already have it, because you need to be doing that at every event. You also need to actually say to people at your event, which I know it sounds like the world's most obvious thing, we want more members and we would love you to join us. And if you would like to join us, you need to talk to Roz, and Roz stands up and waves, and she's going to be in the corner. Please talk to her at the end of the night, because we often forget to do that, and I know it's really obvious. You need to thank them for attending within a week of the event. You need to invite them to the next meeting via a text and email, and preferably a personal phone call. And after they come along to that, you need to keep following up. And that's kind of how, it's like sales, that's how you'll convert people, but it needs to be personal. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no, that was excellent. Thank you so much. So now I'm going to open it up to everyone on the call to ask some questions. Just before I do that though, before you ask your question, if you could please tell us your name and also where you're from, and just be really brief and on topic so we can get through as many questions as possible. So our first question, if anyone wants to unmute themselves and ask anything or raise their hand, feel free.
No questions.
I think we've got Jeremy. Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Hi, thanks, Monique. My question is, sometimes I feel like when I'm inviting someone to come to our results event, they've got a bit of invitation fatigue, or the same thing if I'm asking them to give, that they've got a bit of donor fatigue. What do you think can help get past that fatigue, or having been asked too many times, too many different things?
Yeah, so that's an interesting problem, and probably a problem that's unique to the Hobart group in Australia, because A, Hobart's a small community, and B, you guys have had a lot more events than anyone else has had. So I think that is unique to your situation. I think the trick is honestly to make sure that the events are spaced out and that the information events go in between. So I'm not asking you for money, but I would love it if you could come to this event we're talking about the famine. Or alternatively, I know you've come to my events where we talk about the famine, but we're having this really fun party and we would love you to come along. So I do think the timing, switching them out, if that makes sense, is important. But I also think keeping things spaced out and realistic depending on the size of your community and your reach. You know, I think we all have these big goals, and sometimes we have to keep it, you know, if there are only 100 people in your town, I know that's not Hobart, but as an example, you can only ask people so often, you know, so trying to get that balance between information sharing, and in a perfect world, the person that you ask to those events becomes a member and asks their own people, but it's hard if everyone in your circle's already in your group, honestly. So I hope that sort of answered the question. Yes.
Nice. And do we have any other questions?
Can I just say, while someone's making their mind up about their question, that I know a lot of you are kind of getting ready to do a week events for Anti-Poverty Week, and some of you are a bit anxious about that and not quite sure where to start, or a bit overwhelmed. So I would really urge you all just to flick me an email before you leave the room today, and I'll set up a time to have a phone call with you during the week so we can help sort out whatever your anxiety might be, so that we can get it moving and you can set some realistic plans in place. So anyway.
All right, I think Albert has a question next.
Hi, I was wondering about your point earlier, point number 4. You're talking about making sure your event feels like it's running smoothly and kind of giving that sense that everything's going fine, even though you're like a duck and paddling very quickly underneath, I'm sure. What are some of the tips, I guess, in that way?
To make sure it is running smoothly?
Yeah, and the appearance of what kind of things can you advise on?
Okay, so obviously if it is running smoothly, that would be the perfect way for you to not be looking stressed. Look, I think the main thing is, honestly, if you're organising an event, to have well delegated the jobs and evenly delegated the jobs between the people who are in the room on the day. So if you're having a dinner, the same person cannot, if you're having a trivia night, the same person can't ask the questions, run the disco, set the tables, and go around and collect money and sell raffle tickets. No one person can do all those things. So you need to divide the jobs on the day evenly. I am a huge fan of having a running sheet for an event. So 7:15, turn on the lights. 7:30, check there's toilet paper. 7:33, insert toilet paper. Honestly, right down to that sort of really basic stuff, and have everyone in the room with that running sheet, so everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing, and a name next to each job. So Albert does this, Roz does this, Jeremy does this. So you know what everyone else is doing, and so you know why they can't do your thing for you. I think that's really important. And the other thing is, just something always goes wrong when you run an event, like always. So you know that's going to happen. So then just when it's happened, you're okay, that was the thing. But you don't need to say to everyone, oh my gosh, the microphone's just gone out and I can't believe it because I've dealt with a microphone guy 20 times this week. Nobody cares. So wouldn't mind if things are a little bit rigid, but I don't want you to make them worse by talking about them. It's kind of what I'm trying to imply. Is that helpful?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, but I think to be really organised and make sure that you've communicated well with all the people working on the event is really key to it being smooth and it appearing smooth. So you don't have to say, where are the people selling the raffle tickets? They're already standing up with their raffle books at 7:37 ready to go. The DJ knows they're going on at 8. Everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing, and you know what they're doing, and it just makes it run more smoothly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks. I think that's all we have time for, but as Monique was saying, feel free to get into contact if you do have any questions with any of the staff in the office, and definitely contact Monique because she knows everything there is to know about events, in my eyes anyway. So thank you for speaking to us, Monique, and feel free to go off and enjoy the rest of your Sunday if you want, or you can listen in to the rest of the call as well. And before I hand you over to our CEO, Marie, who's going to speak about certain announcements with results, Monique and I would just like to remind everyone and all the groups to please fill out your events form that we sent to you, I think, about a month ago now, and return it to us, even if you're not planning anything at the moment. So we know where you are with your planning and also what you're planning, and then we can help you in whatever way is necessary. So thank you, Monique, and I'll now hand you over to our CEO, Marie.
Thanks, Alyssa. Just checking everyone can hear me. All good? Yep, terrific. Monique, thank you so much for that. I think everybody can see that working with Monique on a fundraiser would actually, or any event, would actually be fun. So you set us a great example there. You also set us an example of how to be very organised. And I just want to say how impressed I am with the plans that I've already seen that are starting to take shape from all of the groups for Anti-Poverty Week. So just reinforcing Monique's offer, please be in touch with us. Of course, if you are doing an event and we don't know about it, it's probably because you haven't filled that form in. So we really do want to be able to help you. And I know that Alyssa is also very keen to be providing that support. So Monique, thanks for those gems of wisdom. I'm sure you've got loads more that you'd like to share with anybody who wants to have that one-on-one conversation with you. So again, as Alyssa said, if you need to drop off the call or if you want to stay on for a little bit longer, you're more than welcome. So if we just give Monique a bit of applause. Thank you so much. Okay. Terrific. So let me just make a couple of announcements here. And this is also on the events schedule. We actually have a number of groups who are doing fundraising through fun runs. So as Gina said, we had a great outcome from the City to Surf a couple of weeks ago. It's the best fun I have with those sorts of activities. I really love doing it. And every time I talk to people about it, they say, I think I might do that with you next year. So note to self, invite them next year so that we have a team twice as big. So we were really pleased with that outcome. And I know that we have Alicia from Melbourne doing the half marathon in October, and she's already halfway to her target. We have the Brisbane group, and I know Mark is on the call. I'm not sure if anybody else has managed to get onto the call after doing the bridge to Brisbane this morning. So, and it's not too late to donate to that. How did you go, Mark? Did you have a good day?
Myself. Well, as it turned out, I wasn't actually able to compete today because I'd been ill during the week. So we did actually, though, have someone else from the Brisbane group who was in the event today.
Aha. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that you weren't able to join, but maybe what we'll do is we'll put the link up on the chat box to the to the event so that people can continue to support it, because it's not too late. In fact, those fundraising pages are usually open for a couple of weeks. And Gina, if you've got Alicia's as well, maybe we can also put that one up as well. And there are two more happening. So there's the City to Bay on the 17th of September in Adelaide, and the Canberra Times Fun Run that's happening on the 3rd of September. And I think that Roz has already started doing some fundraising for that too. So anyone who wants to support those various links can go up in the chat box. And thank you to everyone for doing those events to fundraise and support results. And good luck with all of those. So the next thing I need to remind everybody of, a bit of a sad day for results, a sad day for Gina and as well, but this is Gina's last call, our last Fact and Action call with results as our grassroots engagement manager. So I wanted to just take this opportunity to really, on behalf of the organisation and all of the staff, and I'm going to also give an opportunity to a couple of people on this call today to say a few words. But I just wanted to say thank you so much, Gina, for your incredible work over the last 4 years. I think you can be really proud of the work that you've done to build up such incredible advocates that we have in our organisation, to have pulled together some really brilliant events. I'm talking particularly about our last two conferences and most recently our study tour. I've heard so many incredible stories of meetings that were held on that study tour where volunteers were really, really powerful. And that doesn't just happen without great support and great leadership and great coaching from you. So I want to wish you all the best from the organisation for a great holiday coming up for you, as well as an exciting future ahead of you. I hope that you hold results in your heart for a long time. I know that we will remember the work that you've done very fondly, and how you've really set the organisation up to continue to grow as it has done in the 4 years that you have been in this role. So, I just want to thank you very much. And I also, before I just hand over to Lindsay, I just wanted to let everybody know that our recruitment is underway for Gina's replacement. They are big shoes to fill, I have to say, but we are, in the middle of our recruitment process. Whilst we finalise all of that, I'm really pleased to say, and also thankful to Alyssa, who will be stepping in and acting up in this role for the next month. So it will be Alyssa who will be providing some of that important support with Monique to those events coming up, as well as hosting the next action call. So just wanted to let you know about that. So again, Gina, thank you so much. I'm going to just quickly hand over to Lindsay to see, Lindsay, if you have a few words that you would like to say, and perhaps there may be one or two other people as well.
Thanks, Marie. I tend to cry during these things, so I prepared some stuff. I hope it comes up on the screen okay. Some of the images didn't print out, so you'll see my own handiwork in here. But Gina, we are unhappy face that you are leaving results. We're a little bit worried eyebrows face about how we're ever going to get on without you. But we know that everything you've girl with graduate us about the punchy fist of our voices to change the world will live on in all of us and help us to promote two fingers up and fight aerospace. Hearts for eyes for the muscular arm that you've given us, Gina, and four-leaf clover for all your future endeavours. With love from the grass to carrots.
Oh, that's so cute. That was like a laser talk.
With emojis.
With emojis. Use your punching fist voices.
I should have just done charades. It might have been easier. The world.
World peace.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you.
That was a lot of fun. How you did that, and that's really terrific. I'm going to ask if there was anyone else who just wanted to say a couple of words, and Gina, maybe is an opportunity for you to respond at the end. So, is there anyone else who wanted to say something? And maybe Lindsay speaking on behalf of everybody. Sounds like you've captured everything.
Gina. Goodbye.
Thanks, Gina.
Thanks, Gina.
Can I say something?
Sure, Alicia, off you go.
Yeah, I just want to say I really liked the moment I joined Results, the way Gina made you feel welcome. And I found when I first started, I was a bit burnt out and I wasn't very confident. And a big part of me sort of increasing my confidence, having a go more and believing in myself again was just due to knowing Gina here. And I just thought, I think she's probably had that effect on a lot of people. And I just wanted to say that. Thank you. It meant a lot. and good luck with whatever you do next. That was it.
Thank you, Alicia. Thank
Hi,
you.
Jen.
Gina, a couple of words from you.
Good grief. I didn't really prepare anything. I sort of forgot that might be part of it. Whoops. It's a bit daunting to leave a job that has allowed you to work 8 hours every day plus on trying to fix an issue that you think is one of the most pressing in the world. And the thing that makes it okay and doable is that I feel like the people that I've brought into the organisation and gotten aboard the change train are very willing and able to continue this sort of work and take results to new heights. It's not, it's not dependent on me. It's very much the result of what all of you do, which determines the impact we have on the world. So thank you for trusting me enough to come aboard the Good Ship results, and happy sailing into the future.
Thanks, Gina. Thanks so much for that. And we will keep doing this work, and our volunteers will keep doing such brilliant advocacy, and you can be proud of the legacy that you have left with us and these volunteers, and how they take that into the world in so many other areas of their life as well. So it's something you can be very proud of. Okay, so getting back to the agenda, which I've totally abandoned in terms of timekeeping, so I will get in trouble for that. I know that there is a little bit more work to do for the rest of this call, so I'm going to hand back to Gina, and Gina will I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit more from the fantastic study tour.
Cool, thanks Marie, and thank you everybody, that was very kind. So I'm going to get Daisy to speak now, Daisy in our Sydney City group. Daisy, are you there, and can you just unmute yourself and say something so that we can be sure we can hear you?
Hi everyone.
Hey, there's Daisy. Good, so we can hear you. So Daisy, you recently joined us in Canberra to have your very first meeting with a parliamentarian. You hadn't actually gone and met with a parliamentarian before going on our study tour. Can you tell me a bit about your first meeting with Mike Freelander? Do I remember right that you were quite nervous before it? And what were you nervous about?
So firstly, just give me 30 minutes on behalf of Results Sydney Group. I really want to say thanks to everything you did to have us and support it all the way, and personally to me as well. And I think it stayed in everyone's heart, and we keep carrying it on with what we do. So coming back to the topic, it was the first time I ever met an MP. And the thing that I was really worried is because I just learned English for 4 years, and I just really worried that when I'm in the room and when I'm nervous, I will start to speak Vietnamese. That was my top priority concern. And even though we have really well prepared, we are really well prepared in 2 days, on Saturday and Sunday before we go to the meeting on Monday. But I still have a kind of worry because Dr. Mike Freelander is very professional in healthcare issue and global health, and he's knowledgeable in different aspects as well. So I just worry that I'm not good enough, and he will be the one who knows everything while I just know a little bit. Yeah. So it was my first worry, but Lindsay, thank you, Lindsay Little and Mr. Bird. They was really supportive, and I have a great team. to start my Monday.
Excellent. Yeah, feeling like the person you're meeting with is going to know everything and you're going to know nothing. That sort of thing is really common and something that we talked about that lots of people experience when they meet their MP. I have to say though, when I met an MP for the first time, I wasn't worried about speaking Vietnamese. That is a challenge that a lot of us don't have to worry about. So it's definitely shows how courageous you are that you went in there despite that fear and took that meeting. And definitely teamwork is so important. So what, once the meeting got started, what helped you to feel more confident? You mentioned already your teammates helped you feel more confident. Were there any other things that helped you feel better once it got started?
That's true that my teammates were really good and we take care of each other, like we agree. Second is I think we was pretty well prepared with all the meeting agenda, and we are very crystal clear on what action we need to take and who will do what assignment in the meeting. So we've been following it pretty well with the timekeeper, with the note taking, and with the leader of the group. Second, the third thing I think is the story of self path. And this one not only happened in the first meeting, but every meeting that I've been on with, even one of them was with Senator Don Farrell, that he just stepped in the room and he take lead of the meeting at first minute, and he just keep throwing all the questions on Tom's face, and he managed to get it really well. And then he passes on to Alicia, to me. And the moment that you start to tell your story of self and engage them in that, the thing, you see the sweep in the conversation, and people start to listen to you and they follow your everything you said from your heart. So it's a kind of tipping point that I saw in every single meeting. And that's why I never really recognize the importance of the story of self that much until I am in the meeting and I see the reaction of people and how the meeting flow changed and the power of self story.
And for those people who weren't on the study tour, Daisy got a bit of a reputation for making the parliamentarians cry, which was quite fun. And so, Daisy, you mentioned that, you know, you were telling your story and you were connecting and kind of moving them. Can you very briefly tell us, can you tell us your story of self and tell us how it felt to actually have that connection and to move them?
I think the key point is be authentic, and what comes from your heart will reach the other person's heart and stay in there. My story of self is actually unlike a lot of my colleagues. I'm not from Australia, and I'm originally from Vietnam, and I grew up in poverty and lack of access to health and education system since I was little, because my dad, he designed all the hydroelectricity dam in Vietnam, so we had to live in the regional area, in the mountainous area in north of Vietnam. And what I was start with my story is because we were still in very cold Canberra winter, so I start my story with how we live in that winter, where we went to school with very thin jacket, and we're wearing short and barefoot. We get out of the house at 5 o'clock when we still see the frosty on the top of every roof. And then we climb up the mountain and pass the river every day to go to school. But what I see in our kid eye is just the hope for the future when we can read a book and when we can start to learn new knowledge. And the biggest present for it was not an ice cream or a bar of chocolate, but just a little piece of meat when I was first grade in the school. And I just tell them the story that I have, and it's really amazing to see how people relate to and really not compassionate, but understand from their point of view, even though they are from very different positions. None of the parliamentarians I met was from poverty, I think so, but they really see the true and the authenticity in your story of self, no matter what it is. And I think Ken White was the one that really impressed me, because before I left, he gave me a sentence, a lesson to me, that no matter where you are from, what is your story or background, that if it's painful or it doesn't degrade how you are, but it's build who you are and who you would become, and take it as your power and share it with the world. That's what Ken said to me. And I really appreciate you, Gina, and all the team to be there for me and support me. And I can see everyone being empowered and walking in their suit in the corridor. And I saw Rod's smile and her confidence, and Tian after her first meeting. So it's really great to be there together and embrace each other to be who the highest self of who we are.
Thanks, Daisy. Thank you, Daisy. Well done. I think that deserves a round of applause. Well done. Thank you, Daisy. I think we can all see why Daisy was such a rock star on the study tour. And I'm reminded that when I was learning about story of self for the first time, a phrase that got used quite a lot was, telling your story isn't about the gloss on the outside. It's not about, having it be all perfect and glossy and written as if it was written by an author, but it's about the glow from within. So not the gloss from without, but the glow from within. And it's that authenticity and really speaking about something that is true to yourself in your own words, in your own way, with real feeling, that creates that glow from within, and people connect to it. And we saw it over and over and over again that parliamentarians were completely entranced by Daisy. They couldn't stop staring at her. They couldn't stop crying. And it was quite wonderful. So thank you so much, Daisy. And I think we can all definitely learn from your experience. Thank you. So let's move on to the final part of our call. I'm going to thank everyone for joining today's call, and also remind you that please contact info@results.org.au if you need any support. And also don't forget to tell us what actions you're taking by reporting them at results.org.au/report. So results.org.au/report. The next action call is taking place on Sunday, September 24 at 3:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. And a recording of today's call will be sent via email either tonight or tomorrow morning. And our next guest speaker, the next two guest speakers, in fact, will be people who are working in Yemen or near Yemen. Next month it's going to be Lauren O'Connor from the World Health Organization, and the following month will be, I think, Larissa Alice from Oxfam, Great Britain. So they're both working right alongside the crisis in Yemen, and I'm sure they'll be fascinating to listen to. And before we learn the laser talk, and if we have time, before we finish the call, I just want to leave you with the words of Desmond Tutu, who said, "Hope is being able to see that there is light despite of all the darkness." So whenever we think there's darkness everywhere, we just need to go looking for the light. It's always there. So just to recap this month's action, this month's action is to go meet with parliamentarians, to go meet with your Member of Parliament, to meet with senators, people who we haven't gone and met with in Canberra. And you can see on the action sheet that we've actually listed the parliamentarians we saw in Canberra. So you can see where there's someone that maybe we've just met with, and so they might be reluctant to meet again so soon. And you can see who are the people left. And I also want to show everybody, I'm just going to do a screen share for a moment because I want to show everyone a few props that we have. So that's a picture of Monique, that's not a prop, that is a prop. So if you look on the action page for this month's action, where we've got the action sheet and everything else, there's a few different props that you can take into your meeting. The first one you can see on the screen here. It's like a multicolored ruler. If you print it out on normal A4 paper and if you cut it out around the pale blue lines, and there's some instructions on how to do that on the second page, so you on the third page, so you get that right. What it makes is they're called MUAC straps, mid upper arm circumference. They're the tapes that they use to measure children's arms, their upper arms, note, like their bicep, not their wrist, to see how malnourished they are. So these things, they end up being really, really small when they're in the red, which is like the danger zone for children. So you can take that into a meeting with your MP and you can actually show them, this is how small an adult's arm needs to be. So you'll see on this page, the adults, there's a little diagram of the mum and dad and the kid. The adults are in black, so that's the adult one. And then the first page, you can tell because it's smaller as well, that's the child's one. So you can show them just how small an adult's arm gets if they're severely malnourished. It just helps make it that bit more real. People usually can't believe it. They often think that it's a wrist measurement and they get quite shocked when you tell them that it's an upper arm, bicep measurement there. So that's the first one. We also have these signs. We took these to Canberra with us. You can print them out and make yourself a little poster. You don't have to do all of them, obviously, because there's quite a lot. But, you can take along a little fact or a picture like this Sustainable Development Goal 2 icon, Zero Hunger. And we also have this poster, which is available, which is something they can stick in their window. And it also has a really nice summary of all the information. So, what is famine and what's happening, what do we want done about it, all on the one sheet. So you can take that along to your meeting as well. So don't forget that these props are there. It really does help when you go and meet your parliamentarian. If you've got something to share, something to show them, show a video, show a picture, demonstrate how small someone's arm gets if they're malnourished, because all that stuff really does help. And I just wanted to also just give everyone a bit of an update from last month. So last month we learnt the laser talk and we finished by asking our government to basically give more to the famine. But now we actually have a number to ask for. Can anyone tell me what that number is, what that dollar amount is?
33 million.
33 million, yeah. So you'll see on the action sheet that Oxfam did a fair share analysis and they calculated that Australia is $33 million short of contributing its fair share to the global effort to relieve and avert the famines. And it talks a little bit more about how that's broken down and things like that, but the key number is that $33 million this year. So that's something we can add into last month's laser talk. And I wonder if anyone can remember last month's laser talk and can share it with us. Perhaps someone who was on the study tour, does anyone remember it?
Yeah, I think I can. I might need
Lindsay,
help.
you probably can. Go on, give it a go.
Okay. Imagine being so hungry that you have to eat grass. This is the current reality in 4 countries, South Sudan, Nigeria, Somalia, and Yemen, where over 20 million people face starvation due to famine. Australian aid is a
representation of our
representation, of our values to uphold freedom, dignity, and equal opportunity.
Great.
We're proud of Australia's contribution so far, but we know that more will be needed. We call on our government to invest another $33 million into famine relief and to rebuild Australia's aid program. Something
Well
like
done,
that.
Lindsay. That was very good.
Not
Thank
word
you.
for word, I don't think.
It doesn't matter if it's not word for word. That's completely fine. What I'll do is I will send the laser talk to all of the group leaders so that everybody can have a copy and they can be passed around. We won't go through the whole thing, over and over again right now because it will take too long. But I will send it. Just to note that from last month, if you learnt last month's laser talk, it's just changing that last line to, we call on our government to contribute an extra $33 million for famine relief this year and rebuild Australia's aid program. So we'll leave it there today. Thank you all so much for the last 4 years and for being on today's call, and thank you for everything you're about to do and will do into the future. So have a great afternoon, everybody, and goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Gina.
Bye, everyone.